Good morning, folks. It's about 10 a.m. on the 2nd of March 2013. This is Jim. I'm from Texas, and I'm returning to Texas from witnessing the NASA SpaceX commercial resupply mission number 2 as a guest of the NASA social folks. I just wanted to do a quick video to record my kind of initial thoughts. I'll probably do one better wrap-up video later. The experience yesterday with NASA Social was terrific. First of all, the people, the NASA Social participants are terrific people, and Jason Townsend, our host, just does an outstanding job of giving us a really action-packed day leading up to the launch and after the launch. The things I remember dramatically are the science briefing we had, the payload, which even Miss Shotwell didn't know the exact weight of the payload, but I believe it's about 2,200 pounds going up, a significant part of which is science experiments. Particularly, they're carrying a number of these glacier freezers that are carrying plants and biological specimens and things up to the station. They'll run, the Dragon's going to stay on the station for 22 days so that they can run these experiments, and then the Dragon will bring the experiments back. There's a plant growth experiment, and there's a cell membrane experiment, a protein growing experiment that has to do with cell membranes. I'll make an actual video about that. One of the things I was real proud of was the 2 best questions at the pre-launch press conference were asked not by the professional reporters, who did ask good questions, but by 2 of our NASA social reporters. And I'm going to actually make a video just for those 2 questions, because I talked to the questioners later, and they're fascinating people in their own right. After the pre-launch conference, we had 15 minutes ourselves with Ms. Shotwell. She answered some more questions. That was fascinating. Then it was out to the launch yesterday morning. The launch was really nice. They drive you out to a causeway that connects the Kennedy facility with Patrick Air Force Base. You can see the launch very clearly there. I'll have a little bit in my video, although there's a lot of spectacular video available on the web, including several taken by our social media reporters. We had at least 2 of them up on the VAB roof who had brought a lot of heavy-duty video and photography equipment. The launch itself seemed to go just fine. There was about I guess a 20,000 foot overcast, so the rocket went up through that pretty quickly. It was a thin overcast. That was the only possible weather issue. Everything looked great. There seemed to be a small fire on the launch pad after the launch. There was some black smoke coming off of what looked like one of the gantry structures or something, but I overheard some radio traffic on walkie-talkies that the fire department was out there, and I guess that sometimes happens when you launch rockets. It didn't seem to be a big deal. So we got back on our bus and we're headed back to the press site, and I'm listening to the NASA audio stream on my phone, and you may, if you watched the prior video, you know I mentioned the solar array deployment was an important step in getting the mission accomplished. Well, I'm listening to the NASA commentator, and he's saying, we're going to, solar arrays can deploy in 1 minute. And he says, solar arrays deploying in 10 seconds. And then the video cut out and the audio cut out. It was over. So my first thought, and I think if you look at the Twitter stream, a lot of people's first thought was, the arrays didn't deploy. We're toast, it's over, it's just got battery power, it's just going to have to come home. It's going to be a big embarrassment for NASA and SpaceX. And so we were pretty sad. I left shortly after that. Most of the NASA participants stayed and got a private tour of the new Atlantis Visitor Center exhibit that hasn't yet opened to the public. I elected to head on back to Texas because it's a long drive back. In any case, to make a long story short, and it's all out there now, Elon Musk over the next 12 hours or so put out, I believe, 9 or 10 tweets, and almost all the news media from March the 1st, the evening of March the 1st, are based on those tweets. Basically, he said, first he said, the Falcon 9 worked perfectly, and everyone's like, okay, what about the Dragon? And then he says, well, there's an anomaly with thruster pods, we're working on it. And then basically he said later, he said, okay, we got 2 of them working. Then an hour to couple, I think 3 or 4 hours later, he said, okay, we got all 4 back online. Nothing to see here. They did put out a statement, and I believe there was a press conference. I haven't been able to find it on the web to watch, but basically it sounded like they had some kind of icing issue with the oxidizer fluid flowing into the thrusters. It sounded to me like carb ice that you get in a light plane sometimes, but it was some sort of icing issue. They managed to fix it and get all the thrusters going, and as of 10 o'clock on the 2nd, NASA seems to be saying, you know, they're going to come on up to the station, and they're working out exactly when that's going to happen. But I'm pretty confident that the berthing will now occur. One of the things I thought I would mention, since this thruster thing is going to get a lot of coverage, at the pre-launch press conference, Ms. Shotwell must have gotten 7 or 8 questions that were all the same from mostly the professional press. What about that engine failure? Boy, didn't that engine failure terrible? What happened with that? And she would say, well, we've done an analysis. We figured out that it was a material failure in a fairing in the engine. And one of the reporters said, I saw giant pieces coming out of the engine. She said, well, that's just the fairing. Well, what do you know about it? She says, well, we've done a non-destructive examination, and we've learned a lot about that, and we believe this will not happen again. And so they asked the same question over and over and over again, and she had the same answer. She pointed out several times that she could go to jail if she says too much about a launch failure. It turns out that they have a report in the State Department that has to be approved with more details, and until the State Department approves it for release under the International Arms Trafficking Act, they can't say too much about it because they do not want to teach the Chinese how to troubleshoot launch failures. So the same thing's going to happen with this thruster issue. They're not going to be able to say as much as we would like because of ITAR restrictions. It's just, but basically, as a light plane pilot, it sounded to me like carb ice. So at the next CRS-3 conference, get ready for all the press to ask, how come the thrusters didn't work? And she'll give the same answer, and then the next guy will ask the same question slightly reworded. And she won't be able to say as much as she'd like because of these restrictions on information about launch failures and spacecraft failures. Apparently that's a fine art. She did say that if you are a non-destructive examination specialist, she wants to hire you, so that would be a good job to have. You might want to check out the SpaceX.com/careers if you know how to do non-destructive examination of aerospace components. I'm at Exit 2 on Interstate 10. This is the Mississippi first Welcome Center, and also the Welcome Center just over there for the Stennis Space Center. They've given it a new name, the Infinity Center, and that's a NASA visitor center. I guess I haven't been to it yet, similar to what's at Cape Kennedy in Houston. Anyway, to wrap things up for now, the bottom line is it was a thrilling experience, and the NASA socials, the participants were probably the best part of it. So many people with so many, they're from all different backgrounds. We had people from all over the world. We had, older people. I think I was probably the oldest, but we had several gray-haired old geezers like me, and we had some very young people, and we had people from all over the world and all over the country, and we all had this common interest, and it was just a terrific time. I would encourage anybody who's interested in seeing a launch. There's going to be 10 more of these, and probably they'll have NASA socials for most or all of them. I certainly hope so. I probably can't go to all 10, so you need to go to one and report on it. Just go to nasa.gov and just Google NASA social and look for the nasa.gov social page. I don't remember the exact URL. It's very simple. You apply. It doesn't cost you anything except the travel expenses. They treat you real well, and I highly recommend it. And thanks NASA, thank you SpaceX for a really thrilling experience. This is Jim from Texas, and I'm in Mississippi, Exit 2 on I-10 on my way back home. Have wrap-up videos, a few more later.